Doug, and thanks everyone who's joining us today. So just to give a little bit of background, and many of you already have been part of the global dining event that we started back in 2020 during the pandemic. That was mainly um, focusing on dining, picking a country, and we brought someone from the country to speak about the food, but also about business opportunities and additional information. Now we have decided to switch that a little bit, and make it related to food, but more to industry specific or a product specific. In the past, we have done some wine events. We did a coffee one, and so we decided this year to really focus on that. And we picked Shalom to be the first one for the year and to talk about hibiscus. Of course, he can cover. Shalom, you can go ahead and cover a lot more products that you manage. But hibiscus was the one that came to mind because I know it's been top one for you. I have the kids here at home, so sorry for the noise. But Shalom, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Cesar. And thanks, Doug, and everybody at Global Chamber. You guys definitely do a great job of everything you do. So I appreciate the platform and inviting me to speak. I know I did one last year with Dana here in Atlanta, and we spoke quite a bit about different teas. And we spoke about hibiscus tea there. But today, I guess it's going to be a hibiscus show alone. So happy to speak about it. So yeah, you want me to jump right in?
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think just to kind of frame it up for everybody, for all of you in the room, feel free to pull out your hibiscus flavored drink or whatever you would like to drink. If there's anything you'd like to eat, feel free to go ahead. This is a virtual dining, casual kind of coffee shop type of conversation. We're going to have Shalom share information about the market and what he's doing. It's really phenomenal. It goes well beyond hibiscus in terms of his agricultural expertise and his exporting and distribution around the world expertise. And we'd love to hear from all of you. So there will be time. We're going to finish up at the top of the hour, but there will be time for each of you to ask questions, to make comments, to state whatever you'd like. But we'd love to have Shalom Bako go first. Shalom is, as you'll hear, is from Nigeria, but he's a global citizen. He's an extraordinary Renaissance man. In addition to a world-class soccer player, he's also an amazing entrepreneur. He's also part of not just Global Chamber Nigeria, but also very specifically, primarily because he does a lot of importing through the Atlanta port and through the Los Angeles port. One of his first leadership roles within Global Chamber has been on the Global Chamber Los Angeles Advisory Board. So we really appreciate all that you do. You're changing the world in many ways, and so we really appreciate your support and collaboration, and we're looking forward to the conversation today. Thanks, Shalom.
Thank you, Doug. You give the most amazing intros. I'm going to have to take you with me anytime I'm speaking anywhere, so I appreciate it. Well, I mean, to that, I'm going to toast. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is, well, the background's not really helping.
Toast to you too.
Toast us. Yeah, there you go.
I'm pretending it's hibiscus. How's that? Will that work?
Well, what I'm drinking right here is hibiscus. This is pure concentrate hibiscus that you just put in a wine glass and you pour some water, and it looks like a beautiful glass of wine. But I'll talk more about that as far as the many ways that you can use hibiscus and the many ways that it is used. But first, I'll just start with what hibiscus is. Hibiscus flowers come in various species, and there are about over 200 species of hibiscus flowers. Most people, when they hear about the hibiscus flower, you think about, the colorful plant that you might see in your garden or someone else's garden. And, they have various colors from yellow to pink to, an array of colors. And those are still hibiscus flowers. However, the flowers I focus on are the ones that are often consumed and edible, which is scientifically known as Hibiscus sabdarifa. And this variety of hibiscus uh, grows really well in the tropical and sub-Sahel of Africa. And so over centuries, this has become a very well-known local flower that is grown for multiple things. And we'll get into some of its benefits, but it's grown for food, it's grown for drink, it's grown for so many things that it's beneficial for. But the Hibiscus sapphirifa variety is probably the most popular variety worldwide that is consumed. And even though it's so popular, most people know very little about where that species itself comes from. And a huge part of it is grown on the African continent, from Egypt all the way to West Africa and in Nigeria. Now, the Hibiscus sabdarifa is, you could go to a Starbucks and maybe order a passion fruit, and it might have some hibiscus in it, or your local Mexican store like a Northgate or wherever you go, or it could be a local food truck where you go to get your tacos. They will probably have a hibiscus drink. However, it goes by different names in different parts of the world. So if you were to go to Spain, you'd probably hear Roselle tea. It's still the same hibiscus tea I'm speaking about. Casually, English, you might just hear hibiscus tea. Same thing. If you were to go to East Africa or the Middle East, it would be called karkade, which is Arabic for the hibiscus tea. If you were to go to West Africa, it also has its name in different countries, from Zobo to Sobolo, right? And then if you come to North America and you go to the Caribbean, or you go to Jamaica or a Jamaican restaurant, it's known as sorrel. And so different parts of the world carry on the same flower and the same drink, but with different names. Of course, the Mexican community especially have made it quite popular in North America, and it's known as agua de Jamaica or flor de Jamaica, right? And so same flower, same plant, same species. A huge chunk, I would say well over 50% of the flowers that's consumed in Mexico and North America primarily comes from the African continent. And in some of these local communities, like the ones you see in my background, these are the communities that farm it. It's very popular locally, but until recently, and partly what I do in terms of marketing it so much, it wasn't really known locally in these villages as something that's commercially viable for trade. This has kind of been a well-kept secret in international trade, where you have thousands of tons of hibiscus flowers being traded locally or bought locally and traded internationally. However, not a lot of people knew about it. Now, the thing with the Hibiscus sabdarifa is that, it comes in varying colors as well, but not quite a yellow or, anything like that, or purple. It comes in a dark red or light red color. However, the only exception to that is there is a white variety. There's a pure white variety, which most people don't get to see. However, what's popularly seen is this red and pinkish color of hibiscus flowers. And so that variety, it's consumed a lot more because of a number of reasons. One, it grows very easily. So you can plant this in your backyard. You don't really need any fertilizer. You don't need a ton of water. It's just a crop and a plant that grows quite independently on its own. And for that reason, in the villages I grew up in, including my grandmother, God bless her soul, hibiscus plants are often just used as a fence. So if you look at some of the farms behind me, a lot of those farms are farmed, that land is farmed by communities. However, if I was to zoom in closer, you would see that some of these farms are fenced off into smaller farms. And what they use to fence those off is hibiscus flowers. So it's used to, fend off, some cattle, but also primarily used to just sort of show your own little area to say, this is my farm. And so you might primarily farm corn, but you would use hibiscus flowers around it to show this is my plot of land. And after harvest, let's say they harvested the corn, what most people do is you take the flowers and you take the calyx of it, right? And you dry it. So after plucking it off, you dry it, sun drying it primarily. And once it's dry, then you can store it for later consumption. So the moisture content levels typically have to stay, below a 10%. And at that point, you can store it. It has a very long shelf life. So you can have it for 2 years, not a problem. However, when you want to consume it, again, it's primarily used as tea. So I'm sure a lot of people here consume tea, and it's just like any other tea you would drink. I'm sure today, if you were to go to your local Walmart or Kroger or Publix, you will certainly find hibiscus tea without a doubt. And so it's just primarily known as a tea. However, the beauty of hibiscus is that it has so many other uses. And oftentimes these uses are right in your face. It's just that most people don't pay attention to that. We don't pay attention to where our food comes from. Sometimes, now more than before, but now people are paying more attention to the health benefits of what they consume. So with hibiscus as a tea, it's fantastic, morning or night. However, at night, it's a really good calming tea, right? Sometimes people actually have an effect, almost like you are drinking wine, because it's so calming and so soothing. On the medical side, I am not a doctor. However, there's been a lot of research, right, that has been shown and testimony. We have quite a number of dialysis patients that have come to purchase hibiscus flowers from us. And the reasons why are because of what it does to your blood pressure. So people with high blood pressure who drink hibiscus tea, it lowers it. And so there's those health benefits. Now, the other health benefit of hibiscus tea that most people don't know about is that it has more vitamin C than oranges. About 10 times more, actually. So it's something that you can drink in place of oranges, and you would be getting a lot more vitamin C. So these, again, are just small unknown facts about, hibiscus tea that comes from the hibiscus flower that people don't know about. Besides its benefits to humans, it actually largely also has a benefit to animals as well. So if you were to go to a Petco today, right, you would also find the same hibiscus flowers you would find at a Walmart. And the reason for that is also because it's great for pet treats and it's great as pet food. Not all pets, but typically gerbils, turtles, chickens. So they're great, food items for pets as well. Now, besides just being a flower, there's a lot of other ways you can consume it. Meaning, you can get the powder, or you can get, the syrup. like I said, which is what I'm drinking today. It's a hibiscus concentrate, which I just dilute and have a nice glass. It's great cold or hot. So it's not something that has to be hot or has to be cold. So there's a lot of variety with it. I was just speaking about some of the benefits outside of just consumption, whether it's a tea. There's a lot of benefits that it also has on the skin. And so you'll find that there's hibiscus powders that get sold, and you'll find hibiscus in a variety of shampoos and soaps because it does really well with the skin. It can help with dandruff. It can help with, smoothing skin. So it's good as a scrub as well. And a lot of women use it as a scrub or for hair. And so that's another use of hibiscus. Now, back to its consumption as a tea and locally growing up, we actually, growing up, used it more as a soup. So after getting the nice red juice out of it, my grandma would use it to make a soup, meaning the what's left of the flour. And that's still true today. There's quite a number of restaurants in Los Angeles today that if you were to go there, vegan restaurants especially, use hibiscus flowers, right, as a substitute for meat. Mushrooms are probably known for that, but hibiscus flowers have a certain texture after after it's made into a drink, typically boiled, and all the redness gets extracted and you get your drink. What's left of that flour can be shredded really nicely, and it almost feels like shredded beef. And so you find a lot of vegan restaurants that use it for that purpose as well. So, whether it's as a meat substitute or for skincare or as a tea, it has a lot of benefits and variety as to what you can do with it. So, that's I know that's kind of a lot about hibiscus right there, but I love the crop for a multitude of reasons. Like I stated earlier, it's something that we've grown up with, right, in many African countries. But very little did we know the international consumption. Now, I came to the United States as a teenager at 14. And until I turned about 18, I had no clue that there was such a high consumption of hibiscus flowers, which I knew as Zobo, but I didn't know that the Caribbeans drank the same drink, that the Mexican community had the same drink, and that I could go to a Starbucks and get the same drink. So once I discovered that, that was what led me down this path to researching where is it being sold, who's bringing it in, how are they bringing it in. And I did all this research on Google. I would Google search, who's importing dried hibiscus flowers, and I'd find these companies, and then I would contact them. And that's how I got this business started, was I would just contact them, very little Spanish, which most of the time that was what was spoken. And I had to start teaching myself on how to communicate about, hibiscus flowers and finding that niche and finding that market. But even more than that, for me, hibiscus is a unifying crop. It's a global crop. It's a global product that most people know. And so it's become a really good conversation starter, right? I could for most cultures anywhere in the world, whether it's in Asia or Europe or South America or Caribbean or Africa, this is one drink and one tea that I know for certain they have, and I just need to know what it's called locally. and I could always have that as a conversation starter. And so that was very strategic for me in how we started doing our business. And Doug mentioned earlier, we've gone from, for the first 4 years of our business, we were primarily focused on hibiscus flowers. And that was our market entry strategy. However, now we have a portfolio of well over 20 products that are sourced and imported from Africa that also have stories. So right behind me, you'll see those trees that you can see. Those trees are called the tree of life. And if you were to Google tree of life, it's called the baobab tree. Some people may know about baobab and some may not, but these are some of the oldest trees in the world, right? But things like baobab are widely available, but also crops that people aren't familiar with the international value and even how to do that. So hibiscus has become a brand, right, for me, the Hibiscus King, but also it's really helped me develop a lot of global relationships and opened me up to a world that I never would have imagined. It's also been that, helped me with my barrier to entry, if you will. It's been my market entry strategy into the business I now do with international trade and distribution. And so hibiscus flowers, again, I just think it's one of the best kept secrets. It has so many benefits to you, whether you're talking about the health benefits or the business benefits or just the beauty of it. It's a beautiful plant as well. And so I'm very passionate about it. And it's brought me here. It's given me these relationships here at the chamber and around the world as well. And so I hope if you are not a hibiscus consumer, I hope that you are now convinced and not confused that hibiscus is probably the best tea and probably a really valuable flower that you should probably have in your home. If you're a tea drinker, fantastic. If you want to eat it, fantastic. If you're into health and beauty, perfect. I haven't even touched on some of the other ways, but it's also used in the film industry. It's used in the apparel industry. And so there's just a wealth of things that this one crop and this one flower, produces. So I'll just stop there and, cheers again. Thank you guys for allowing me to speak on and on about hibiscus flowers. But it definitely is a very, very good product to have. And if you need any hibiscus flowers, please visit us online, afrivana.com, and get your fix. Thank you.
What a great overview. Thank you so much. And it seems like it all started with your grandmother. Your grandmother, like at the family house, was she fascinated by hibiscus, or she had kind of a vision about how that all kind of played out? She definitely helped you. She helped you understand the value of it.
She didn't know the value of it, and unfortunately, my grandmother passed away years before she ever got to see my business to this point. But she was very much, both my grandmothers were very influential in my, were very influential in my current path. And so growing up, she didn't really know the value either. You have huge communities of women farmers that just use it as a fence and not even as a primary crop. And so, I wish she was here today to witness and hear me speak about hibiscus or even see the way it's grown into a business. But she very much was an instrumental part to me in my entrepreneurial endeavors. Actually, when I was a child, when I was really young, I would say between the ages of 8 to 10, I remember it very specifically. She would have it in the front of her house as the fence for her corn. However, when she made it into the drink, she would wrap them in these little clear bags. And I would take those clear bags and put them in a bucket, and I would go out in the streets and I would sell it. I'd sell it to kids coming out of school, especially the high school kids in Nigeria, it's secondary school. So I would go out and sell it. And so little does she know that, that actually was probably some foresight into the future of what I'd be doing.
Amazing. It's amazing how our family inspires us into greatness. What questions and comments do people have? Let's go around the room. Feel free to jump in. Anita, I see you're unmuted and you can speak, and Philip and others. Just please feel free to go ahead. I'm here with my grandson. Many of you know little Luca. Those of you who follow me on Facebook, he's over here and he's helping me do some global chamber. Please go ahead.
Exploitation as its best. That's good. Okay, so as you're talking, I'm Googling all sorts of things and looking up what the plant looks like and the calyx and all that stuff. And I'm seeing that it can be made into wine. Have you ever tasted hibiscus wine, and what does it taste like?
So, well, I would say that's a little bit of what I'm having right now. However, there's a company in Canada that makes both alcoholic and non-alcoholic wine made out of hibiscus. And yeah, I think it tastes fantastic. I'm surprised I don't see more companies using it, for wine. But wine and beer, actually, in America. So if you go to Yard House has a very popular hibiscus beer. And a lot of microbreweries around the country have been buying a lot of flowers from us because of that. And they're making hibiscus beers and hibiscus wine. So it's gaining more and more popularity.
I have a yard house just a mile from me.
There you go.
I'll have to venture over there.
That was very interesting. I never knew that much about hibiscus. I've always thought about it just like in Michelin restaurants when you're eating it, the flowers are on the food and everything. I never thought about it until you mentioned the vegan restaurants. And I've definitely had it there here in LA. Who do you bring it over in raw form, or is it all dried out? And like, who's buying it from you? Is it like what I think it's like the Whole Foods, kind of the higher end supermarkets, or like you said, beer distributors? Do you sell on Amazon too? Is it directly to consumers?
Yeah, great question. So we currently sell primarily to distributors. When we started, we just used to import it. And to answer your first part of the question, we bring it in dry. So they're brought in as dried flowers. We sun dry them, like I said, with less than 10% moisture content. That way they don't develop fungus and, go bad. But I wish I had I could put the picture on my background, but
yeah,
we bring them in these containers. I'll be posting a lot of videos, you'll see them. But we bring them in dried just as the flower. And distributors are primarily who our customers are, Mexican distributors. So you have the Northgate markets, you have the Toluca Foods, all these type of stores that buy them more directly from us. Stores like Sprouts also carry them. Winco is probably one of the more popular ones on the West Coast that carries them. And depending on what region you are, Costco also carries them. All the like Costco's in Mexico certainly carry them. But depending on the region, HEB in Texas, those sort of stores carry a lot of the flowers. So primarily distributors. Now this year, we're venturing more into the retail space. So we do sell on Walmart. We do sell on Amazon. Amazon is fairly new for us as a retail outlet. Walmart has been a very good bulk outlet. So wholesale was our first focus, just selling by the container loads. And then coming into distribution into the US, we started distributing bulk. So we would sell them in boxes which stores like Winco would just purchase by the pallet. So we would start selling them by the pallet. And this year, we're slowly rolling out more of the retail side, what we're doing with more consumer side packaging for, hibiscus and a variety of other African superfoods, from spices, pulses, to herbs and spices. So this year you'll see a lot more consumer packaged goods from us.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
On Amazon, is it?
I would probably have to send you a direct link or something. I don't think we're ranking that high enough yet, but a lot of people do sell them. Now, I will say, not all hibiscus is created equal. And I say that because we have, some of my staff hate me for this sometimes, but I often go to Amazon and I will just order hibiscus flowers from different companies just to see and compare what their flowers are like compared to us. And I can tell you that there's a company, I'm not going to say their name, but they sell the most hibiscus flowers on Amazon. They sell, well over $400,000 worth of hibiscus flowers on Amazon, just the dried flower. And we've ordered from them multiple times to compare. And yeah, it's frankly and generally speaking, it's just really nothing compared to the quality of, what we bring in, and probably the quality of what you'll find as well in most Hispanic markets. Yeah, there's a smell that hibiscus has, a nice, flower and tart smell that it has. And sometimes you buy these online and they come with a mixture of smells. And you can tell that it's been stored with other spices and other things. So you don't really get to actually smell it. The other thing hibiscus gets judged by when you're buying it is whether it's a full flower or it's just cut into pieces. So if you were to take a tea bag and you were to open it, you'd find that most of what's in a tea bag is cut, regardless of what it is, but especially when it's a flower, it's cut into what you call tea bag cut. In the industry, we call it TBC. So there's a market for that, but that market is often for hibiscus tea or tea in general that's going into tea bags, because most consumers don't open the tea bag. So they don't really care about how that looks. However, when you're just buying the flower on its own, even whether it's the wholesale market or the bulk market, people judge it based on the flowers. So the more full flower it is, the higher it is in terms of cost. But if it's just cut, then the less costly it is. And that's how we determine in our business, the prices. Is it a full flower or is it cut? And so most of what you'll find, let me say, at least from a couple of vendors on Amazon that sell the most, they just don't sell the best quality, but they sell a lot of it.
And how about like fair trade issues?
So currently, I'll tell you that most of the trade that happens with hibiscus flowers goes through intermediary countries. So you'll have hibiscus flowers that are coming from China. You'll have hibiscus flowers that may be coming from India. You'll have hibiscus flowers that may be coming from Mexico. Now, I'm an expert in the industry, so I could tell, most of the time I can tell where the flower is coming from, right? But the typical person doesn't know. But currently, no fair trade issues that I know of. We have had some trade issues in general, flower, a few years ago that had to do more with just politics than the actual content of the flower, but no real trade issues with hibiscus flowers.
Great questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who else has questions or comments, please?
Like he was angry. group of people.
I might
I
have
will
given
just I will just comment something. Shalom. So I was introduced to hibiscus through the Mexican culture with the agua de Jamaica, and I like it. But I have a friend from Senegal, and she introduced me to Zobo, and I have to say that I like that one most. It's really it's very sugary, but that goes along with my taste. So it's really good, and I bet I haven't tried anything else with hibiscus, and you mentioned a lot of uses. So I look forward to try different things. Within the Mexican culture, I've seen all the way to cocktails, salt made with hibiscus, and I've seen a lot of things, and they're all great. Sure.
absolutely. Um, yeah, I didn't even mention that. It's very popular as salt. You know, if you go to a lot of restaurants, they use it as the margarita,
Yeah.
uh, things like that, and so it's quite popular. Um, but to your point about the zobo, the Senegalese, so they call it bissap in
Yeah.
their culture. Yeah, they call it bissap. Now, the interesting thing about hibiscus too is just you kind of can't tell who or what culture made the tea once you taste it. So the base is still hibiscus, same flower, same everything. What makes it unique is how it's made. So
Yeah.
if you were to go to Ghana, they would more than likely make their hibiscus flowers with pineapple as a mix. If you were to go to Senegal, they might have more sugar than what you might find in Ghana. If you were to go to a Jamaican restaurant, they might have a certain way they make it where it's more concentrated. Um, in a Hispanic home, you might find someone that makes it with cinnamon, right? So, and in Nigeria, you'll definitely find that there's a lot more ginger. So you can mix it with a lot of things and it still tastes fantastic,
It,
so you can try that.
is it used holistically? Or how is it used holistically?
That's a great question. And when you say holistically, can you elaborate?
Well, in oils, scents, you have these diffusers that put scents into the air and you inhale them and it helps your body. So medicinally,
Yes. So it definitely, medicinally, it's certainly used. Now, as an oil, the most popular, there is hibiscus oil. It's really great for skin. A lot of people that have chafing, a lot of women have bought hibiscus oils. We have someone we supply, and she makes oils, fantastic oils, and it sells out. So it's really great with chafing. It's a great skin product, but most hibiscus oil comes from the seed, not the flower.
oh,
So we use the seed to make the oil.
and what are the health benefits?
As an oil or just
Yeah.
in general?
Yeah, like if you're putting it on your skin, the oil, is it just like a moisturizer or is it does more, is there a higher benefit than even that?
That's a great question. And I'll do more research around more of the benefits as an oil. I do know that it is good as a moisturizer. I know it's a great mixer that people, we've made a shea butter hibiscus oil mix before that did really well. But that's about as much as I know with the oil. But I will do more research on it.
Yeah, it's definitely a trend.
Can I give you all a really good
Yeah.
resource? You can look up hibiscus on the on PubMed.gov. So PUB as in boy, MED.gov. It's the National Library of Medicine's
Okay.
like repository. So you'll see abstracts,
Oh.
and I've looked up things for like mangosteen and for a bunch of other
Yeah.
natural things. And if you put hibiscus in, it'll give you a lot of different choices, and you can spend a lot of time. It's a great rabbit hole to go down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Doug, you're on mute.
Thanks. We have about 10 minutes left. Who else has comments? Introduce yourself. Alex, you're in the room, and I see Gian and Joanna. Joanne, this is a little unusual, right? This is very different than what we've talked about. Joanne's a new member, and probably you know about all this, but it's probably a little bit different than what you might have expected. Monica, thank you for joining, and Nora. We talked earlier with Philip. Thank you for joining, Alfonso and Terry. Any of you would like to introduce yourself or say hi or have a question or a comment?
She made that Paul is really struggling with that. I guess
Nobody, really?
Somebody's talking, but I just can't hear it very well, but I can go.
Oh,
So I'm
Joe.
from Mexico, and
oh, there we go.
we use the hibiscus like 3 times a week in like drinking water for dinner or lunch. So we really use the hibiscus really much. So I'm really familiar, but I didn't know something. So thank you, Beiko, for all the knowledge that we know from now on. That's it.
I know when I learned about hibiscus, I happened to have Jamaica tea, I think, or some sort of a drink, and Baco was, I think, instrumental in letting me know about it. It's heavy in hibiscus.
So to his comment too, what really took our business to another level was that I moved to Mexico for 3 months. I actually lived in Mexico City for 3 months in 2018. And knowing that that community is a huge consumer of it, I figured just go right into it and see how you can make a market. So Mexico is very close to my heart. Certainly some of my biggest customers. And so I love it down there. Like you said, the consumption of hibiscus in Mexico, agua de Jamaica, or flor de Jamaica, is far more than most places in the world. So Mexico will always be an important part of our distribution of the flowers.
Doug, you said Joanne might have a different take on this. I was curious if she can come in and tell us what that is.
You're talking about me?
Yes.
Well, I use that for before going to bed. It's very calming and supposed to sleep better. I heard a lot the medicinal quality of this, but I'm not sure that it's the mainstream kind of household awareness in there. So, yeah, so probably you need to do a little more brand awareness campaign. Being a brand and brand marketing expert, I think that'll help a lot. Just the low-hanging fruit is to push the message across.
Yeah. Is there a global hibiscus organization that goes and does that? And is there an opportunity to do that, or what? How does that work globally?
Well,
that's a great question.
This day and age, an organization probably won't help very much. You can just have your own website, make sure it works in terms of its the keywords and the messaging and the ranking, and with content. You can push it globally. Yeah.
There's coffee associations, and there's national coffee associations, and there's tea organizations. And so is there something like that, or what's your thought about things like that? And what do you think about the brand going forward, whether there's an organization or not?
Define your target audience. Are you trying to monetize it? Are you trying to reach to people who are older? Because usually they have problems or if it's something that is you think has a chance to be popular with younger people, make it attractive to them, then you got to do some research about product market fit, go-to-market strategies, and where your brand positioning is. So that is another in-depth conversation. So I think that's the best way. You have to research and analyze your market position, your product appeal to what kind of target audience first, and then you can take message to those target audience
It's that brown house, the brown.
through social media, through your website, and then you figure out what other media you can use within your budget.
Yeah.
Um,
What are your thoughts, Shalom?
She's absolutely right. You know, we have been doing a little bit of research to that effect. Like I said, this year we're doing a lot more with the retail side of our business. So, you know, we spent some time last year really trying to define exactly who we want to target, of which you mentioned a few. So for us, we discovered a lot through our research, actually specifically in Atlanta and California, more people with high blood pressure issues, dialysis, used it, and then this has a great benefit. And as you mentioned earlier too, I mean, it's very calming and soothing, so it helps a lot with sleep. And so defining that audience is absolutely important to really knowing who to push and who to target to, you know. So we'll be doing a lot more awareness to retail consumers more about the hibiscus, especially from the health benefit standpoint.
Great observation, Joanne. Thank you. And thanks for joining. Anybody else have comments? Monica or Nora or Terry? And if not, that's okay as well.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hey.
You know what? I learned something. I'm from Mexico City. I live here in San Antonio, and I always thought that it was another name. I didn't know it was the Jamaica. So yes, of course, as Poncho said, we drink that in Mexico all the time. It's a diuretic. Like if you're swollen, take Jamaica water. we take that for everything. Yes, that's delicious. And it's expensive here though. In the United States.
I have a stuff in car.
But
Did
yeah.
you say it's expensive?
But yeah, I learned today. Unbelievable.
Awesome. Well, Texas is a big market for it as well. Like I mentioned earlier, HEB is probably the biggest markets over there. But a lot of Jamaica flows through Texas.
Huh. Fascinating. You're involved in a lot of other products as well, right? I mean, one of the great things about you is that you've got this expertise in hibiscus and 200 varieties, which blows my mind. I'm still trying to process that. But you shea butter, and what are some of the other things you're involved with? And then we'll wrap up. But tell us a little bit more about the exporting journey that you're on as well with different products.
Yeah, absolutely. So we focus on African superfoods, and that is herbs, spices, grains, you know, oils. But some of these spices and grains, I'll be talking a lot more about this year. So I'd mentioned baobab earlier. Baobab already has a lot of health benefits that are great. So you have baobab. You have things like tiger nuts. Tiger nut is another one that is very popular in the Hispanic community, but they don't know it as tiger nuts and aren't as aware that it's largely produced on the African continent. So the drink I'm going to give you that's always next to Jamaica is horchata. Now, horchata is popularly today made in North America with rice. However, original horchata, and if you were to go to a Spanish restaurant in America or even in Spain, or you go to Mexican restaurants with, access to tiger nuts, horchata is originally made from tiger nuts. So that's another product that we bring in that's getting more popularity. There's another crop called fonio, Fonio. It's a grain. Fonio grain is also a fantastic grain, lots of health benefits as well. Popularly known in West Africa and used, in different soups. It's almost like a good quinoa alternative, or what else would I call it? But yeah, it's one of those small grains that, is fantastic. So we bring those in as well. Shea butter is quite popular. We bring in some shea butter. We bring in chili peppers that are almost like bird eye chili peppers. Another one that we bring in that's popular in the Hispanic community is tamarindo. So you'll see this pattern. All these Mexican drinks that we also drink and produce. But tamarindo, it's made from tamarind. Horchata, which is made from tiger nuts. And then, of course, hibiscus. But those are just a few. And yeah, there's quite a lot more. We're going to be releasing more and more products via our website, which is afrivana.com. And currently, we do a lot more bulk. However, like I said earlier, we're going to start releasing some retail consumer packaged goods. And that's really the direction our business has gone. We've gone from wholesale importing to becoming, private label manufacturers of these products. We have large manufacturing capabilities in Africa. And as things are changing, especially with the continent, there's a lot more interest and a lot more growth in the manufacturing sector, just like it is in Mexico. But we've gone a lot more into manufacturing, so we can private label a lot more things for, markets and distributors here in North America. But that's the direction we're going.
Sounds good. I think I think we're at the top of the hour. So Cesar, are you still there? And would you like to make any closing comments?
I'm here, Doug. Yes. No, nothing special. Shalom. Thank you very much. I think this is what we envisioned when we were talking about product-specific events. I like the questions that were made in terms of the trade and the opportunities, and even if there's an association of hibiscus. So those are the type of things we want to learn. And I learned something about horchata as well today. So thank you for that. And thanks to everyone that joined us. And we don't have anything specific yet for February, but we will be announcing very soon.
Yeah, I think this one is right up there with the fascinating ones we've done on these topics have been coffee and now hibiscus. And so it's interesting that very specific markets, coffee bigger, at least today. And so it's been fascinating to learn more. So Shalom, thank you for teaching us today. We really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. I wrote down most of the people I think that have been here. So I took a picture of Shalom, and so I'll post that on LinkedIn probably later tonight after my grandson and I, with my daughter and wife, have a little bit of food, or we do something next. But watch for that in the next couple hours, and you'll be able to connect on LinkedIn to each other. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening or morning And our next event, I think, is League of Extraordinaries in the morning here in the US. And so you're almost all of you are members. So jump into that and connect further. And then we've got a whole bunch of things coming up, as you all know. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.